Right, so today I'm gonna be trying something a little different. It's gonna be a two-set method that I've seen on social media as of lately. One person is specific. This person goes by the name of Ian Barsegal. He is an insane calisthenics athlete, an insane physique, by the way. But the point is with this two-set method is you do two exercises and in those two exercises you do two sets for each and you go to failure on both of them. Just as many reps as you can. And what he mentioned was forcing your muscles to grow, you know, pushing your muscles beyond its limit, instead of just doing multiple sets at certain reps. We're just going to do two sets and do as many reps as possible, but obviously you got to get a warm up before the actual working sets to avoid any injury. So I'm gonna start here with the light band just to get my shoulders warmed up, you know. Um, just a couple of pulses for this, couple of reps just to warm up everything. And then something around the back, dislocations as these are called. Just also a couple of reps of these, just getting the shoulders warm, getting getting everything loose. And this two set method, I'm gonna be trying for all my other exercises. So with pull ups, legs, obviously the push up stuff that or the pushing exercises, I should say, that I'm gonna be doing. I'm mainly gonna be doing just pike push ups today, and dips is what I'm gonna be focusing on. So two sets for each of those two exercises, going till failure, pushing the hardest I can, and I'll see, what kind of results I get later on down the line. So yeah. So not only do you want to warm up your shoulders, but wrists. In calisthenics, wrist strength and wrist warm ups are very important. So, the first thing, you know, you sort of just lean forward on this, keeping your arms straight, getting a good stretch in this part of the forearm, and obviously it just gets everything loose in the wrist. You also want to do backwards to get a nice stretch in there, as well as side to side. So, since I will be doing a 2 set method, which involves going to failure on both sets, you're gonna want to really warm up everything nice and properly. This right here is good for obviously your forearms and your wrists, but you just kind of want to pulse or pump up and down as if you're doing like mini push-ups, but you know, you get the idea. Then just do a couple of those. Get a nice stretch in everything. The wrist, the tendons. Calisthenics is very high demand on the tendons and ligaments, so you want to stretch everything as nice as possible. You know, you also want to practice gripping the ground, you know, kind of like imagine spiders' legs in the way they, you know, I guess stand or whatever. But you can see here my fingers as I'm gripping the ground. There's a bend right here in the fingers. That'll come in handy for when you go to practice your handstands, when you're balancing. You can push off if you're leaning too far forward and let off if you're leaning too far backwards. And this in general just strengthens all the tendons in your fingers and in your hands. So it's very important. And then wrist rocks, putting some weight on there. False grip. Let's get a good stretch as well for the outside part of the forearm and mainly around this part of the wrist. It's very important that you warm up your wrist properly because most of your body weight will fall onto the wrist, and you don't want to you don't want any injury. So Yeah. And then as well, you could just do this with your fingers to get a nice pump in there in the wrist, in the forearm. So now I'm going to get into the first working set of the pike push-ups, and I'm just going to give it my all. So get into position, get a good shoulder width apart. Remember, squeeze your fingers, gripping the ground. Squeeze your core here at the top. Keep your legs as straight as you can. And then you're going to want to go down, up, and your head. You want to have that in between your shoulders, your ears. And the reason you want to keep your legs as straight as possible is you want to minimize the amount of weight. So you want to be as light as possible on the legs. That's why you got to keep it as straight as possible. And squeezing your core at all times. If you need to, take a breath, a quick breather, but don't stop until you can't for the first set. Which would be failure for me right there. Another thing to mention is resting times in between sets. For strength, I would say 3 to 4 minutes or 4 to 5 minutes is good, depending on how you're feeling. So yeah, see you in the next set. All right, here goes the second set of the pike push-ups, and I'll just give it my all. Now I begin the dips sets. So this will be the first set to failure. You want to maintain straight legs. Okay, here goes the second set. You want to have, forgot to mention in the first set, a stable grip. So your wrists, your forearms should be all straight down. You don't want to have like a bend like this. You want to keep a straight wrist like this for maximum stability. Well, that's all I had for dips, but I'll improve little by little. But yeah, thank you for watching.